Next is, you see this extra spacing we have, and you should know this by now, ULs will add some extra padding. Remember here, padding start. So let's make sure that we zero that out. And we'll place it right here, meta padding left 0. Reload, and now that's been reduced. And finally, we need to get rid of some of the default margin top that is applied to all H2 tags. If I go to computed, margin top, default of 32. So this is something you might be noticing now is it sure does seem that we are having to override the browser defaults quite a bit. Wouldn't it be great if we could start with a blank slate? Well, we can by using a reset style sheet, and I'm going to teach you about that in a future lesson. For now, we're going to come back and say article H2. We don't want it to apply to all H2s, only the article H2. So we will apply it right here. Article H2, reload, and that's been pushed up. So we're almost done, just a little bit more. The next step is, you see if we zoom out, this is wrapped within a little box. So let's do that ourselves. I will come back and you'll see that we have added this information right here within a p tag. You could also use a div. There's lots of options. I'm going to add a class of post info. Now, again, you might be thinking, why are we doing class and not ID? And it's because if we did ID, remember in a blog, this would be repeated over and over. This exact markup would be repeated for as many postings as you have on your website. And in that case, every posting would receive an ID of post info, and you can't do that. If you want to group them, you use a class. Now we can target it at the bottom and we'll say post info. And now we'll apply the background color and the base color. So we know the base color is 999. Why don't we figure out what the background color is? Inspect element, and we're going to get this whole div right here, and we can see the background is F3. So now reload, and you can see we do have that, but there should be a little bit of breathing room all around it. So we'll do some padding. 2 pixels worth. Reload, and that looks good to me. If you want to add a little bit more, you can. Next, we can see that we're still using the green text, but that's not being applied right here. They're using the exact same color all throughout. So let's update this to post info A, and we have a couple options here now. So one, I could say color should also be 999, and if I reload, you'll see that takes effect because of the cascade nature. So right up here we have A is one color, but now down here, because we have applied post info, this will override it. Now in this case, if we also did it here, we would override anything above because that's the way CSS works. The lower it is on the page, the more likely it is to take precedence. So let's see what would happen if we did post info at the top and then anchor at the bottom. Which one will take precedence? Green will. Now, why is that? And that's because this is taking effect even though this is lower on the page because there is more weight, what we call weight. Without getting into it too much, every element, whether it's an ID or a class or a tag name, receives a specific amount of weight. And that's how we use the cascade nature. So you can say all anchor tags should be this color. But then if you override that, you can say all anchor tags within post info, well, that's a little more weight. We're being more specific, so this is going to take precedence. So now that's looking better. The last step here is there shouldn't be an underline either. So we're going to remove that by doing text decoration at the very bottom of none. Reload, and now that's looking good. What about when we hover over it though? Can you see when you hover over it, it changes to a different color? That's easy. Post info A, hover, and in that case we'll make the color and we'll just assume it's black. And now if I hover over it, now that's changed to black. Also, the font size is likely going to be the same font size as we have up here. So we can check that and see 14 pixels. And also, if we come back, we can see that it's also italic. So it seems that the exact same values we have here will apply to the post info. And I'm going to make sure that I preface that with a period so it's treated as a class. And now that's receiving those values as well. Next, let's see what is happening here where we have all of this extra space. And that's because, again, this is set to a display of blocks, so it's going to take up all of the space available. If we want to override that, one way, and we call this shrink wrapping, is you float it to the left, and that will make sure that it only contains exactly as much as what's contained within the element. Reload, and now you can see that's taken effect. But now because we have floated it, we've sort of taken it out of the flow of the document, and now this is popping up, which is odd. But we can fix that easily by getting the body and making sure it clears anything that's above it. So get the body, which is what we have right here, and make sure that we clear any floats that are above it. Reload, and now that's been pushed down. And now can you see that we've shrink wrapped this? So now the text, as soon as that cuts off, so does the wrapper. Now